Bonjour and welcome back to... Last time we left off with logistical science done and ready to be used. But with a base that is... what's the word I'm looking for?
C'est de la merde.
Ah, right. It is not optimal. I got 99 problems with this base, and I think I'm about to hit 100 soon. So the path to follow is quite clear. I need to upgrade my bootstrap base to a proper starter base. Hopefully the starter base will turn out to be the actual base, but I'm quite skeptical about that. My plan is to use trains as much as possible in order to facilitate the logistical nightmare Pi can be. For that, I need elevated rails since I can't access cliff explosives before a long time. In the meantime, I tackle the first major problem. I don't make enough wood. So, I double it. More seeds, more ash, more forestry, blah blah blah. I try to keep it in the same place because I know it can fit.
Et sinon, le city block design?
That's a very good remark. And the reason I'm not using them right now is quite simple. Oh look, I don't have enough biomass, so I got to deal with that next. I simply reroute the excess biomass and fiber that the raw fiber produced spontaneously to the giant composter. When I think I clear out a problem, I realize I have another one. Not enough ash for the trees. I can just connect the coke oven gas to the main line of the base to restart the coke burning setup. It looks very nice once done and running. The next thing on my agenda is steel. It is actually a miracle the iron starter patch survived this long, but it is close to extinction now. So I need to settle a new one east of my base just under the massive patch I use for my regular iron. I can turn to the rocks now since there is not enough formic acid made to sustain the glass wares. Plus, it gives me the opportunity to tackle on the automation of the Mark II modules. It is not particularly hard, it takes the same ingredients used for the rocks and 2 rocks Mark IIs to kickstart the production of Cocoon Mark IIs. You have a 1% chance to lose your rocks, unlikely, but not zero. Fingers crossed. And I double the production of rocks to get the right amount of formic acid when I get all the Mark II modules in the paddocks. It is at this point I realize my research isn't searching at all. The culprits, my own incompetence, and a rock belt. These mistakes are very common in my game. I show another one just for a good laugh. The moon drops should not be there, I misfiltered an inserter. In the last episode, I forgot to mention that I use personal equipment to fuel my personal Ro-Ro port and my personal bots with canisters filled with syngas. There is an option to automatically fuel your equipment with the appropriate fuel in your inventory. Very useful. Now that I have corrected the main issues of my base, I can start the new iron process. With it, the ratio ore plates becomes 3 ores to 1 plate. Pretty nice considering we came from 8 ores for 1 plate. First of all, I modernized the processed iron build. New inserters and electric poles. Much cleaner. Then I decide to process the ores directly next to the mining site since I have some space. The processed iron will go on trains to get smelted elsewhere. Talking about trains, what the is that? To my horror, I discover that the cargoes have only 20 slots available. It's not like they are cheap. Caravans have more space than that. At this point, I debate quite a lot between going full train network or try to develop something with caravans. I finally stayed with trains, but I believe caravans are a very solid solution at this point of the game. Well, all this time wandering allowed the first Rocks Modules Mark II to be made. They double the speed of the machine you put it in. Enough distraction, let's do this Molten Iron. Let's reuse the almighty Blueprint Sandbox mode for that purpose. We begin with oxygen in the electrolyzers. Massive cost in electricity, but the base can take it now. We get rid of the hydrogen for now, but it will go on a train for later use. After that, I copy the antimony oxide smelting build and modernize it. I add the casting machine at the end of a chain and that's done. Well, that was easier than I thought. I'm not complaining though. Now to build it. I need to encraft a lot of advanced buildings. I could have taken the time to redo them all, but that felt like too much effort. The Logistical Pynobots are not that far away in the tech tree, so I push a little further like that. Now that it is built, the real challenge begins. Bringing every component in and eliminating all the byproducts out. I guess I overlooked that when I was in gold building mode. It starts with bringing the water to be zapped and the coke to fuel the basic oxygen furnaces. Both can be done a bit south with this lake and this massive raw coal patch. This small build should be enough right now. I just got distracted by a lack of tin plates. That's problem number 79, but it bothers me now, so I increase the production of steam and it works just fine. Back to the coke. I can bring it by belts to my iron setup and bring the coke oven gas to bootstrap base with a giant pipeline.
Et les trains dans tout ça?
Well, all I have to say is that it's a great way to move in the base. While I wait for the bots to connect this raw borax patch with rails, I intend to prove my circuit production. It is very slow and it lacks a bit of everything. So I start by optimizing the QoL battery production with more zinc plates. I also need more iron plates throughout the base. A little rogue iron plate smelting should do the trick. I connect it halfway through the base where the belt starts to dry out.
Et sinon, utiliser le bloc que tu viens de construire pour faire les plaques de fer.
Could you shut up? Here I am building another landfill production to dump all the stone and gravel byproducts I will get from the ores processing. Later I can add a concrete or any tile bed to get rid of other byproducts. And here comes my first strain, and it is for the stone. Happy now?
Oui.
I will work on that loading station later, don't you worry. I'll also work on a better refueling station solution later. I just want to get the process started, but there are so many little things to take into account. Alright, time to make some borax. I just show you the finished build since you already saw me do it in the first video. You did see the first video, right? I just need some syngas to mine it. If only problem number 42 did not kick in. I don't make enough tar to maintain the tar processing and all the various oil products necessary to keep the base alive, including that precious syngas. Well, easy fix. Build more, and modernize it while I'm at it. Since I'm close by, I quickly increase the production of vacuum tubes and graphite for the circuits. I guess I just saw that and decided to fix it right away. Never mind. Now that syngas is secured, I can put it on a train and bring it to the borax mines. Et voilà! I keep the muddy sludge in a tailings pond for later usage. It is heavily used in gardening processes. This giant skeleton was there before I arrived on this planet, just to say. Finally, I have all the ingredients ready for the molten iron recipe. Connect it all and we get molten iron. I still need to bring the sand cast for the plates. Well, it is just next door, so a nice belt will do the trick. I will automate it later. And now I can get my 15 iron plates per second. Quite a rough start, to be honest, but I'm sure it will get easier as the train network expands. Time to move on to the copper, and unfortunately I either lost the footage or forgot to record me designing it, and I'm quite annoyed, because it was a great session. Anyway, let me explain to you how it works, because copper is always a tad more complex than iron. We begin the process by crushing the ores into copper grade 1 and grade 2. We keep the grade 2 and crush the grade 1 again to get more grade 2. That's the part you already know by the first video. You did see the first video, right? Now we crush the grade 2 even further and get copper grade 3 and copper rejects. The rejects can be impact crushed into gravel, and a 50% chance of copper grade 3. We take these grade 3s in an automated screener to get the grade 4, the one we want. and some low-grade copper rejects along the way. We can pass those rejects in a classifier and get low-grade copper dust and a 30% chance grade 4. The dust can be washed into a low-grade copper and we get some tailings as a byproduct, which is pretty nice because we can use it to either get next elite ores or sulfur, as explained in my first video. You did see the first video.
Bon, t'arrêtes avec ça?
Okay. Finally, the low-grade copper can be smelted into copper plates with a 60% chance of success. That's only the stage 2 of copper processing. How many are they? 5! Oh putain. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, one step at a time. The bots are building the blueprint and I can tackle on problem number 67. Too much blood in the system, thus blocking my logistical science production. It turns out my AUG build is very efficient. Easy fix as well. I can turn this blood into iron ore thanks to the atomizer, then send this ore to the iron processing block. But now it is problem number 85 to shine. No more moondrops, no seeds. I see, there is not enough trees produced, thus limiting the production of seeds and creating a vicious circle of decrepitude. The solution is to build more.
Et l'originalité?
I just have to connect the water and the roboports and the bots will handle it. As I said, I am still handcrafting a lot, but this time I got an idea. I can still handcraft, but then I can put the buildings in a storage chest so the bots can build. It only took me 10 hours to realize this. The copper build is almost finished, but not quite. So that leaves me time to tackle lead next. Thankfully, lead is simpler than copper. We just need to crush the ore multiple times through various machines to get grade 1, then grade 2, then grade 3, and finally some silver lead dust which can be smelted into molten lead. I'm going a bit quickly here since the processes are similar for every molten recipe with some minor changes for each. Also, molten lead is made in an electric furnace, same as aluminium, so we need some graphite as well as some borax and a lot of electricity. I am very proud of this design. I try to only do direct insertions since the ratios were 2:1 for every step. It really is beautiful. Don't you agree? Now that it is placed down, it needs acetylene to mine the lead ore, and my first base can't keep up with the rising demand. So it is a perfect excuse to redesign it. There is not much to say here except that I need a lot of coke and I am not producing enough right now. Maybe I should take this time to mention that every molten plate recipe has a hot air variant adding something like 20% productivity in exchange for hot air. I did not choose that option because I can't quite recycle the coke oven gas that come out of the hot air process since it enters at 250 Celsius degrees and it goes out at 100 Celsius degrees. There is a later tech that allows to heat coke oven gas with molten salt. Still, I think I'll be fine with that hot air for a while. That's one of the strangest things with Pyanodons. You build super big just to get a trickle of something, and that is enough most of the time. Alright, acetylene build is finished and ready to be built by the bots. Py tanks are automated, it was desperately missing, and the copper build is finally over. I can now think of a massive coke design. I really need to work on my pronunciation for that sentence. Anyway, I use the raw coal pad just south of the acetylene to produce a metric ton of coke and coke oven gas. Both are going to be useful for many purposes, mainly fueling things like smelters, basic oxygen furnaces, or trains to name a few. Plus, coke is used in some important recipes like acetylene, graphite, ceramic, you name it. Very nice building as well. I am really enjoying the process of redesigning for the city blocks. After that, I attend to some errands like doubling molten iron and oxygen, automating basic oxygen furnaces, dealing with the excess of meat at the rock build by turning it into biomass, and increasing the formic acid production, and make a joke about the number of the beast.
Oh, les 166.
Ah, good times. All of this put me in a good mood to make molten steel. That's the initial reason I doubled molten iron production. Since we already got the molten iron, it is not that complicated. We just need a lot of coke and vent the flue gas byproducts. And that's it, you get molten steel. I also try to use the circuit network to control the suncast delivery. It kind of works, but there are a lot of flows that will cause productions to stop later. But I won't bore you with that. So the base is growing nice and slow and it starts to accumulate ashes. Sweet memories. Ah bon? So I designed a train stop and a block for ash treatment. I'll also have to think of a way to deal with the ores byproducts. I'll figure it out later, but I'm sure it will involve trains in the solution. It is amazing the time one can spend looking at the various recipes and buildings in Pyanodons. So many of them. And the purpose of those are not really clear. For instance, there are a lot of various ways to make electricity other than burning fuel, like those tidal power plants. They are freaking expensive and output only 6 MW of power, while with molten salt and just one high pressure turbines you get 473 MW of power. I have only one thing to say about it. C'est de la merde. This little aparté allowed the acetylene to end. Don't ask me why I did not send a belt directly from the coke production to the acetylene. I'm as shocked as you are. After all this advancement, I decided it was time to automate properly the mechanical parts. Since I lost the footage for the first video, here is the full explanation. They are quite technical and expensive to make, but absolutely necessary for all the advanced buildings from now on. Last time I handcrafted the utility boxes and the control panels, so I want to automate those. I pretty much got everything I need near the train production. I just have to mine a bit of quartz down south, connect it all, limit the production with circuit networks, and that's pretty good to go. I did that because I want to increase my power production and rely only on high pressure turbines and molten salt energy. It is by far the most efficient and powerful way to make electricity. But it is expensive and it requires burnable fuel to operate. There are 4 variants to heat the salt: coal, biomass, fluid, and gas. For now, the easiest is to use coal or coke or any variant. This is why you see me redesigning a raw coal to coal production. Plus, it creates tar and cold gas along the way, which are very useful fluid and gas. Then I copy my power plant from the north of my base to the south, near my newly made coal gas production city block. It serves multiple purposes at the same time. I can fuel these massive coal power plants and get electricity. Plus, I can process the tar and the coal gas right under to get all the precious fluids and gas that are still produced in my old base and transported by old and sad pipes. Just have to drain the molten salt from the old location to the new one by train and we are good to go. With only 2 of these bad boys, we get almost 900 megawatts of electricity. That means I can get rid of all the old boilers to steam engines power stuff. I should no longer suffer from scarce electricity ever again. I just moved the old power plant next to the new one and I'm done with it. I'm so glad I could cry. Unfortunately, the réjouissances are short-lived since problem number 13 emerges to ruin the moment.
Oh putain, mais ce glassware!
I don't produce enough seaweed to maintain the sodium alginate production necessary for the glassware for Pi Science 1. And it is accompanied by problem number 28, not enough aromatics for the zinc. The first one is quickly solvable, but problem number 28 will have to wait until I redo the tar processing. But before doubling the seaweed production, it is time to activate the lead build by connecting the acetylene. Alright, now I can... Wait, what is going... What?
Oh, qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? Qu'est-ce qui s'est... Ah ouais. C'était qu'une question de temps avant que ça n'arrive. Et ici... Ah putain.
J'avais jamais prévu la sortie. Merde. Est-ce que lui ça va? Juste qu'il y en a déjà... Ah, ce truc est en train de... Non. Ce truc est en train de mourir. J'ai trop d'oxyde, trop de fer. Non. Il y a tout qui est en train de mourir.
So yeah, this build I was really proud of was flawed in multiple ways, slowly dying of attrition. It's a good thing I don't need it anymore, but still it stings in my heart. Nonetheless, the factory must grow. So I finally doubled the seaweed production for Pi Science 1. Then I go back to the circuits. I make a ratio war ceramic production and finally witness a steady production of circuits. It only took me 125 hours, and in a moment of hubris I doubled my circuit production. Will it last? With a few adjustments it might. Now it's a good time to go back to the tar processing. I don't go as in depth as last time, because you see, pitch processing creates a lot of coke, which is nice in itself, but I already produce so much next door I fear it might be too much and cut my coke oven production. The essentials right now are creosote, aromatics, gasoline and anthracene oil. I could put them each on their separate train and then send them in the old base where they are needed. And after what felt like an eternity, I finally use my first ramp of the run. It will allow me to connect my base where the tin production is. Speaking about tin... Wait, why do I have so much automation science accumulated in a chest? And why so much meat and guts? So, speaking about tin, it is time to make molten tin, with some great music, of course. In order to make molten tin, we need tin dust. For that, we crush the tin ore from grade 1 to grade 4 while dealing with the byproducts starting with the ore to grade 1 and 2, grade 2 to grade 1, grade 1 to grade 3, tin rejects ore to grade 1, and grade 3 to grade 4 to crush it once and for all to dust. You also get some tailings as byproducts by washing the tin grade 3. Nice! Most of the ratios are 1 to 1, hence this massive rectangular crushing mass. Quite the build, eh? Just saying now, if you want to have access to the blueprints and saves of this game, you can join my freshly made Patreon. I'm not sure why you'd want to pay for my blueprints, but it is a great way to support this channel. How time flies, one shameful self-promotion later and the tar processing is built and ready to kick in. And I can deconstruct the old messy one. Do you enjoy deconstructing as much as constructing, or is it just me? Tin is still being built, so while I'll wait for that, I'll redo a quick and better aluminum build. Actually, it's quite simple for a molten recipe. I just have enough space for the miners right here. I have to admit that I don't really like building on top of ore patches. And this city block design doesn't leave room for adjustments. Anyway, now I'm just missing the borax, graphite, coal gas and sandcast. And once it is all here, voila! Another confession to make. I'm not really good with circuit networks. But it is never too late to try, I guess. Especially since 2.0 Factorio made them more alluring to noobs like me. Here you can see me try to create a logic to set the priorities of the borax train stops according to the buffer fullness. It is very laborious, but I kind of manage. Now that aluminium is out of the way, that's pretty much all the metals redone and available to the train network. Good job, me. There's still a lot to do, but I can move on to the gardening bit now. Before that, I'd like to talk about the technological upgrade and research device known as T.U.R.D. It's a set of game-changing recipes on various biological processes. You unlock them by research and they are completely optional, but I want to use them in my game. I already selected a few and I'm about to make a poor decision by choosing the spore sterilization for the most farms. It allows a 50% bonus productivity by adding chlorinated water to every recipe. My dumb brain thought this was going to add a recipe, not replace and change them all. Before the realization, I set up the chlorinated recipe and work on the MOAR farm design. There is not much for me to say here, so let's skip to the part when I put it for the bots to work on and... What's going on with my power? I have a massive blackout out of nowhere? But how? How is this possible? I tried to restart the process, but the fuel demand is so high, it doesn't work. Plus, the pumps I use for the turbines are shut down as well. That makes sense, there is no electricity. I'm in a complete blackout spiral. Oh, so much for the never gonna have scare electricity again. So, it seems that the problem number one is that I never took care of the iron oxide byproduct the coal tar coal gas process make. Which, you know, deadlocked the entire setup. So now, I need to get this out and restart the old process with
C'est de la merde.
an external
C'est de la merde.
power source like
C'est de la merde.
the tidal power plant.
Merde.
And yeah, I don't have any much choices now because, you know, the tidal power plant is kind of the middle ground between expensive and efficient for electricity right now, so I really needed to restart the power. Okay, so lesson learned, never underestimate Pyanodons nor the tools it gives you. Now that's fixed, I can fix my train errors. And after that, I can realize that I changed the recipe for every moss farms in my base, and I have to bring chlorinated water to all of them. And after that, I can try to solve the scare gasoline aromatics constant problem by processing the light oil I make with my kerosene setup and bring them all by caravan at the center of my base.
Mes sauveurs.
It is time to come clean. I'm in the middle of a crisis right now. I am constantly trying to fix my old base while tearing it down and building the new base, which has its own problems, to bring supplies to the old base to build the new base. So I guess now I have 198 problems. But jokes aside, I don't think I took the best decisions here. So if there is a lesson to take from this video, don't do what I did. Well, crying rivers about it won't make it any better. So, I put it all together and finished that goddamn moss farm city block. Now that's done, I can turn to the moon drops. I need to redesign it more strongly, but there is not much to add though. My solution to keep a good amount of both trees and seeds is to overproduce trees and compost the excess. I can even get carbon dioxide out of the biomass, and quite a lot actually. Now sap. It is so basic and I am so annoyed of not progressing in the tech tree that I just copy the build and move it in the city block. I have unlocked the stage 2 of sap farming, but it will have to wait. Now I'm determined to rip and tear the old base for good and put it all on trains. Then seaweed farms. Nothing special, just a lot of them to get a nice 15 seaweeds per second. Then Fauge, just a copy as well. Isn't it easy when you give up on improving things and just move them around? I also take some time to upgrade the chest at my bus so that when my bots are deconstructing anything, they can put all the items on the bus right here. It is very useful, especially since I'm about to order them to clean the eastern front. It is not that important now. I designed this little train station to bring all the supplies by train for the old base. I still need it to provide me with buildings and science, but right now I'm aiming at a game-changing tech, and I'm sure you can guess which one it is. Alright, that was a nice little break, but it is time to push forward and end the gardening. Wood is next, and I unlocked better recipes for the log production. There are also the Tree Seeds Mark II and Tree Mark II modules, but that's for a future main problem. After that, I take the opportunity to remake the planter boxes. Well, it was actually a necessity more of an opportunity, but hey, almost everything is nearby. Thinking of it, I got everything I need to redo the simple circuit boards now. That's great news. A bit scary, but great news nonetheless. I am not going to explain again how circuits are made, but just know that I changed a few minor things, like using a better recipe for cellulose with wood and sodium hydroxide, building the eco inductors just under the circuit build with the better recipe including ceramic. I'll take this opportunity to share my thought at this point. I am really getting more and more skeptical with this city block design. It is well done, but this was really a lot of work to put the circuits back online. Especially the part where I had to bring everything in the city block. Nevertheless, I am not quite ready to get rid of it just yet. I am too committed right now.
Oh merde!
Never mind, let's go on with it as I make more power and illusion myself a bit more with this city block logic by trying to make it look pretty with more various styles. Pyanodons has quite a lot of various styles. They all have the same bonus speed of 300%, so you can really get creative. Plus, it allows to get rid of some of the pitch and ash byproducts. It is no time to relax though, I still have some shows to do, like Petroleum or set up a jazz festival for the rocks. I choose the reuse water turd for the rocks to make my life a little bit easier. It changes the recipe so that I never have to bring barreled water ever again, except for the module creation for some reason. As for the byproducts of the rocks, we mostly need the formic acid for the glasswares. The rest can go into a deposit until I figure out what to do with it. Almost there. But not quite. My science per minute is not optimal and stopping every 10 minutes because something isn't working properly. So that leaves some time to move the Raleigh production. I like this design. It is simple and symmetrical. It's also perfect to produce a lot of flowers and seeds. Right now I'm focused and determined. I build one thing and deconstruct it right after and make sure I get everything it was producing in the right place. I really want those boats and I want them now. Research is still very slow. So to kill some time, I'm trying to create a crawdad, one of the 4 living creatures we can ride on in Pyanodons. They even have an equipment grid with a giant purple heart. They are an equivalent to car, but this one is way more robust. So robust in fact that it can easily destroy trees and buildings on its path without taking a scratch. Oops. That was a good distraction, and in between, the Biome, j'adore ce mot, research is finished and in one tech we'll have the bots. Well, technically I'll have the possibility to make them, but first I will need niobium plates. So why am I showing you a Petri dish build? Well, dear viewer, it will come handy pretty soon, and I have a dire need for them, and also small pots. So, niobium. It is not that complicated. Honest, pinky swear. We have most of the stuff already, we are just missing a few things. We need to produce organic solvent out of naphthalene and carbolic ores, which we already produce with the tar processing. Easy. Then we need nitrogen from pressurized air. It creates oxygen and nitrogen contaminate as well, which is very good, because the oxygen can be sent off by train to ease the burden on the electrolyzers, and the nitrogen contaminate is used to make more pressurized air. The final thing on our to-do list is refined syngas to mine the niobium. That is some syngas filtered with an activated carbon. This latter item is created by mixing coal dust, zinc chloride, sodium hydroxide, and nitrogen. Easy. It is a good way to get rid of the coal dust. Plus, this activated carbon is used in many advanced gas recipes. That's one thing that is both exhilarating and scary about Pyanodons. It is the sheer amount of various recipes for one item. It can be scary at first, because you feel lost, but it allows also a good deal of liberty on how to approach certain problems, and I really enjoy that. In the middle of a niobium bit, I decided to improve my battery production since they are used for the Logistical Pynobots and it's very bad. The problem is that I do not produce enough poop to make the cyanic acid for the batteries.
C'est marrant parce que ton build est pourtant nul à chier.
Once that's done, I can deal with the mining bit of the niobium with those special miners. It works differently from what we were used to so far. It needs another kind of fuel, drill heads. We have access to 2 recipes right now, and I chose the most productive one, but that was really overkill for now. It will matter for the future though. Time to get some niobium plates. And for that, we just have to mine the ore. Crush it into niobium powder. then crush it even more into niobium dust, then crush it even more into niobium concentrate, then dissolve it into niobium complex, then add some nitrogen to get niobium oxide, and finally add some salt. Et voila, you get your delicious niobium plates served hot. Easy, right?
Je crois qu'on est en train de se perdre.
The best thing about those plates, except their name, is that it also serves to make big electric poles. Oh yeah, all the basic vanilla Factorio logistics have finally been unlocked. And yeah, we do not talk about substations, they aren't a thing for at least 200 and 300 hours. Oh, also, the niobium plates unlocks the next tier of pipes, which has an underground length of 32 tiles. The only thing missing are the nichrome plates. Those are really easy in comparison, nickel, chrome and nitrogen. And now, all that is left is to bring it all where I make my bolts and shove it all in an assembler and... Victoire! Well, not really, but it is good to feel complete again. Plus, that means the possibility of a bot mole is wide open, which means I am almost out of the handcrafting hellscape. Now it's time to thrive, and to begin this new era, I finally embraced the courage to create my first ever train system. I first thought keeping the city block idea, but truth be told, it is way too strict for Pyanodons. I need something simpler to build and to use, something I can modulate depending on the situation and what's needed. So I go with a rather simplistic design, straight rails, T-junction and curves. It works out fine for me, so I figure out the rest later. Next thing on the agenda, bot mole. Nothing can beat the flexibility and convenience of a bot mole, especially in overall modes. So, I designed this parametrized assembler to build exactly what I need and not a thing more.
Soit inférieur à pétoromètre 50.
C'est vraiment ton idée?
Okay, I have to come clean. I stole the idea from another French Factorio player, T.U.R.D. The idea of this design is to keep track of the number of items in the logistical network so it doesn't overproduce. And yes, I am sticking with the burner assembler Mark II since they are smaller and faster than the automated factory. As for the fuel, I will deal with wood, that means no ash. All that progress put me in a great mood to try to parameterize some train stops. I tried to give them two orders. Set priority at 100 when the buffers are under a certain limit, then shut down the train stop when the buffers are too full. Oddly enough, it works kind of fine. And just like that, I am ready to start my bot mole and claim all the necessary basic ingredients for all the buildings of the game. I start slowly with the most important one, like all the logistical chests. See? The Pi devs are actually kind. They left these after the logistical bots tech. Thank you guys. In the meantime, let me show you another neat thing we can do in Pyanodons. We just need some drilling fluid Mark I made in this mixer. Now we can do two things with it. One, we can use it with a tar extractor on a bitumen seep to seek out the precious tar. And two, we can turn it into tar directly with those pump jacks and some small parts. Pretty OP, right? The tar extractor consumes a fixed amount of drilling fluid and then 255 million tar found.
Oh.
Life is wonderful. And now I'm flying high. No more conundrums. I just want to extend my bot mole and deconstruct the old base. I still have a lot to do though, like adding the various alloys on the train network. I begin with iron nexalate antimony alloy and vitralloy that go into the intermetallics. With my parametrized blueprint, it is quite easy now to bring all the necessary supplies to one place. I had to tweak it a bit to be honest, but now it works just fine. I added the nexalate plates and the antimony oxide on trains quickly off screen. But here we are, intermetallics ready to be shipped to the bot mole. Heck, I even start to have enough bots to think of personal supplies delivery. Well, not all is perfect, of course. I often have some deadlocks with my trains. That's an easy fix, right?
And now my base is fully connected as a big giant squared circle of automation. Right now, I keep pushing the put everything onto trains frenzy. I want my bot mold to produce everything including bots and trains, so I start with the fish oil in order to make gearboxes necessary for both bots and locomotives. Another train jam, huh? That's okay, easy fix. I do make other mistakes with my train schedules, like messing up the plastic one and blocking my antimony production, thus my intermetallics production. But once that's fixed, nothing can stop me from putting fish oil on trains and begin the gearbox production. Except maybe that massive train jam. Already 3 jams in such a short period of time? And quite a massive one. Okay, it is time to really dig in the fixing. It took me some time to get it right and understand how change signals and rate signals function, and how to place them efficiently on a T-junction. This is how it used to be. Don't laugh too hard, please. And this is how it is now. Don't mind the 9 hours gap. I was busy, okay? This is the proof that, yes, mistakes are a great way to improve, but trying to do the thing in the first place is really the only and best way to start learning it. I won't pretend to be a master in trains or circuit network, but I am learning, which is something I've never done before because I was just using blueprints of other players. Maybe by the end of this playthrough I'll be an expert. I am now trying my hardest to finish the shores before the 200 hours mark, so let's speed things up. Cyanic acid on train? Check. Gearboxes in the mall? Check. Lead antimony oxide on trains? Check. Batteries in the mall? Check. Bots in the mall? Check. Roboport, construction extender, drone recharging station? Check. Easter egg on Bolt Viking? Check. And locomotives and wagons, but I don't find the evidence? Check. Nice. Now I can move the fish farms from here to here. You do remember all the meat and guts accumulated? Well, they will go on their separate trains since they have all multiple usages. For instance, I can make jerky out of meat to create phytoplankton. No more tin shenanigans. And as for the other byproducts made in the slaughterhouse, I can bring them to the Repentir train station. Fitting, isn't it? Talking about trains, I keep experimenting with my system and find new cool ideas, like this loading/unloading station. I know this is nothing new or particularly spectacular, but I'm just glad I could make it. This allows me to deal easily with what used to be a nightmarish logistical problem, like for the ash treatment facility. See, it is deadlocked because I could not get my head around the byproducts ores. I wanted to put them on a train, but that would have broken the city block pattern. But now I have 2 solutions to deal with this ash accumulation. First, this neat recipe turning ash into flue gas, which we can finally turn into something useful like syngas. Second, I put all the ores onto their own train with my newly designed loading station and send them where they are needed, with the priority splitters. Confident in my train network, I decide it is time to redo the sciences. I mean, now all the items are just a train stop away, basically. The first science goes up in a moment. Pi Science 1 is a bit more complex, as you remember, but it is essentially a basic substrate put in a glassware and microwaved. But it follows the same principle. I have everything I need on train, so I just have to set up the train stops. Pi has become enjoyable again. While I wait for the trains to arrive, let me show you another cool feature. The pump jacks can produce 300 units of water per second for free anywhere. Combine that with the electric boiler and you can get free steam pretty much anywhere super easily. It's so beautiful. Glassware is built. Basic substrate is even easier to set up. I put them both on trains since they are used in various recipes. I guess the point of this video could be, when you are in an overall mod, just put everything onto a train just in case you might need it later. Onto a train, in a train, on, onto, into. I never quite figured that part of the English grammar. Such a weird language. Attends, j'apporte les popcorn, on va lire la section commentaires.
Pretty cool looking science place, even if I say so myself. This is where Science 1 was produced. So empty now, so clean. And just like that, another 100 hours of gameplay has passed. And I'll stop right here just before the third science because that's gonna be a few hours more. I know this is really anticlimactic as an end. I wish I could have time to redo the third science, but that's gonna take a few hours just to do that. That was quite a lot of work, a lot of hesitations, of problems fixing and innovations at the same time. I had my lows and my highs during this episode, and even though it was mostly a redo of the first one, I hope you still enjoyed it. I believe I made some bad decisions at the beginning of this chapter, decisions that slowed me quite a lot. Dealing with two bases at the same time and the city block design, looking back at it, it was both mistakes. Nonetheless, I now have a stronger base which gives me confidence to tackle on the next challenges Pyanodons has to offer. The next video is going to be all about new stuff like creating massive alien wasps and I hope Science 2. This is also the time I thank you all for your kind words and your enthusiasm about this series in the first episode. You are the reason I got this chapter out this soon. That's what I call a real support. But if you're willing to go further, I created a Patreon where I downloaded my blueprint books of trains and builds and the save files. I will put every save for every 100 hours of gameplay checkmark. Finally, the last thing patrons will be able to do from now on is to decide which T.U.R.D technology I have to take for the rest of the game. That's right, you'll be able to choose how nightmarish it gets in there. That being said, I bid you farewell. Au revoir et à bientôt.